She looked me in the eye, scoffed at my technique, and said, and I quote, "Making Kung Pao chicken at some Chinese restaurant doesn't count." And that's when I snapped. I dropped the knife, looked her dead in the face, and called her exactly what she was, a racist piece of shit. The kitchen went dead silent. My father-in-law snorted. My mother-in-law shouted, "Sarah, what is wrong with you?" And I just walked out. But let me back up. I've been married to my wife for almost 10 years. We're a mixed-race couple. I'm Asian, she's white. And for the most part, her family and I have gotten along. Her mom, her brother, her other sister, all good people. But her father and her sister Sarah, they've never really accepted me. You can feel it, you know? That quiet tension, that condescension with a smile. I'm a professionally trained chef. Been at it for over 15 years. I work at one of the top Chinese restaurants in a major US city, a spin-off of a place out of Beijing that's earned international acclaim. We've won awards. My team is proud of what we do. I've been told, flat out, that I'll be the next executive chef. That's not something that just happens. Sarah, my sister-in-law, is also a chef. She works at a fancy French restaurant in the city, and she doesn't let anyone forget it. She's always name-dropping Ramsay, Bourdon, walking around like she's the heir to Escoffier himself. Every holiday, every family dinner, if I so much as pick up a whisk, she's over my shoulder, correcting, critiquing, nitpicking. "You're holding the knife wrong. You really should marinate that for at least 2 more hours. Actually, in French kitchens, we do it this way." I let it slide. For my wife, for peace, for my own sanity. I kept my head down, smiled, and said things like, "Thanks, but I've got my own way of doing it." But 2 weeks ago, that changed. It was my mother-in-law's birthday, big family dinner. I was in the kitchen, prepping with my wife and her parents. Tension was already in the air. We were behind schedule, dishes everywhere, burners blazing. It felt like my restaurant. Fast, loud, a little chaotic. Honestly, I loved it. Then Sarah walked in. She looked at my station, sneered, and said, "Oh wow, okay, so that's not the right way of doing things." That was it. That was the final straw. I turned, calmly but firmly, and told her to stop criticizing me, that I was a chef too, that I knew what I was doing. She laughed, full chest laugh, and that's when she said it. "Making Kung Pao chicken at some Chinese restaurant doesn't count." Let that sink in. I was standing there, a decorated chef, prepping food for her mother's birthday. And she reduced my entire career, my culture, my discipline, my craft, to some Chinese restaurant. Like I was working in the back of a mall food court, and that's when I lost it. I called her out, right there in the kitchen. Called her a racist. Apologized to my mother-in-law for not being able to stay, and walked out with my wife. It exploded after that. My mother-in-law screamed at Sarah. My father-in-law laughed, then defended her. Said it was just a joke, but also kind of true. That I was being too sensitive. The rest of the family started taking sides. My wife's phone lit up with messages from cousins, some apologizing for Sarah's behavior, others defending it. Sarah? She doubled down. No apology, no reflection, just anger. And then the fallout began. Turns out Sarah brought the story to work. She ranted about it, loudly. A coworker overheard, and they reported her. Now she's been demoted. Back to line cook, facing possible termination. And somehow, she's blaming me. My wife told me Sarah called her, screaming. Said she was demoted because of your Chuck husband. My wife finally snapped, told her to go to hell. And for the first time, she was fully on my side. But the damage kept spreading. That Reddit post? Someone, a cousin, shared it on Sarah's Facebook wall, called her out by name. Her friends saw it. Her co-workers saw it. Comments poured in. People were disappointed, disgusted. Her reputation collapsed in a matter of days. And then, I got a voicemail from my father-in-law. He said my presence had only been tolerated until now, that I better delete the post, that I was facing a world of hurt if I didn't. I didn't delete it, because screw that. Screw tolerance. I don't need to be tolerated. I deserve to be respected. But it didn't stop there. A few days later, my mother-in-law showed up at our apartment, overnight bags in hand, said she was done. Done with the marriage. Done with Doug. Yeah, Doug's his name. Apparently their relationship had been fraying for years, especially after a certain 2016 election. But this incident, the voicemail, the refusal to apologize, that was the breaking point. She didn't feel safe, so she left. Came to stay with us. And then came the stories. Extended family on Facebook imploding. People cutting each other off. Some arguing so fiercely, the police had to get involved. Family chats dissolved. Friendships ended. All because Sarah couldn't keep her racism to herself, and because Doug backed her up. And here's the twist. The restaurant Sarah worked for, partially owned by a Chinese investment group. Her co-workers shut her out, wouldn't send plates back from the dish pit. Management told her she'd lost their trust. She quit before they could fire her. She's now blacklisted in the local industry. No one wants to work with her. She's thinking about selling her house and moving out of state, starting over. And even after all that, she still hasn't apologized. Not to me, not to my wife, not to her own mother. I didn't want any of this. I didn't post online to destroy her life. I didn't call her boss. I didn't out her on social media. She did all that herself. Still, I reached out. I contacted friends in other states, asked if they had openings. Not because she deserves it, but because I do. I deserve to know that I didn't stoop to her level, that I stayed decent, even when she was vile. But let me be clear. I don't regret standing up for myself. Not for a second. She belittled my career, mocked my identity, and laughed in my face. And when she got called out, she didn't reflect. She retaliated. So, am I the asshole? Because I wouldn't stay quiet? Because I said out loud what she made clear with every word? Because I drew a line and said, no more? I don't think so. And I'll let you decide. But just know, when someone tells you who they are, listen. And when you finally say enough, don't ever apologize for meaning it. This has been another story from the AITA Story Vault. This one's tough. It's raw. It's real. It's about racism, yes, but also about respect, about dignity, about the power of standing up and saying, you don't get to speak to me like that. It's also about the mess that happens when you do speak up, because it's never clean, never easy, but sometimes it's the only way forward. To anyone out there who's ever swallowed their pride to keep the peace, ask yourself what that peace is really costing you. And ask yourself, who benefits when you stay silent? Was he the asshole? Or was he just finally done being silent? Let us know in the comments. And if you've ever had to stand your ground when the world told you to smile and nod, we want to hear your story. Until next time, Stay brave, stay kind, and speak up, always.